Difficult.
Difficult.
Difficult. Difficult. Difficult. Difficult.
Women.
Well, hello.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hey.
That's how I feel today.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's one of those.
Yeah.
It's one of those years already.
Last year was a year, and this year's still a
I just read a thing that Dr. Fauci says that we're going to still be wearing masks well into 2022.
Oh, I see it for like 7 years at least.
Maybe.
It's great.
Maybe the rest of our lives. Anyway, I'm Katy.
Cool. I'm Marie, and this is the Difficult Women podcast. We're so difficult. I feel very difficult this morning. Can I tell you why?
Tell me.
I have a rash all over my body. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, God, why?
My body is being extremely difficult. Well, you know me, I have these really random weird allergies.
You're allergic to everything.
I'm allergic to everything, especially uni, which I still will eat this year.
Don't do it.
I don't know. Yesterday, like my arms, I have like a rash on my arms and now on my legs and then on my chin. Like,
Did you eat something? Did you wear something new?
Here's
Did you
the
buy
thing.
Something?
I have not left the house in a week because of the snowstorm here. And I haven't seen anybody really, you know.
I think, you are allergic to your cat, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe you're just spending too much time with your cat.
that could be it. I mean, it feels like when I Googled it, it's like either like an animal reaction of some sort or especially like a food. But what have I been eating? I've been cooking. I made like zucchini lasagna. Am I all of a sudden allergic to zucchini?
You're just allergic to your cat.
I checked the air filters because I was like, oh my God, I'm breathing in mold. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. So this may be it.
You may have to shave Olive.
I have to just
make
shear
a pen for her outside. Yeah, it'll be fine.
But it's weird. It's so weird. Anyway, I'm
sorry.
I'm itching. I'm very
You're
itchy today.
Full of rash.
So if you hear if you hear the itching sound, that's me just scratching my. Ugh, this is disgusting.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, what's up with you? Are you itchy?
I'm not itchy, thankfully. But I also don't have any pets or any living being inside of this house with me, except for my plants, which I talk to now, like a lot. Yeah, I haven't seen a human person now in. Oh, it's got to be at least a week.
I saw one person. He popped by with a mask on, and then a week went by. He came by yesterday just for a hot second, and that's been it.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to see people. I think just a face. I mean, I go to the grocery store and stuff, but you can't even really chit chat because you can't read people's facial expressions, so you don't know if they even want to talk to you. You can't just be, hey, wow, everything sucks, huh? How are you doing? Oh, that sucks. It's
well, I beg to differ because I did go to a coffee shop. Finally, the snow started melting, I guess on Friday, and I popped into a little. I can't wait for you to visit. It's just right up the road. This sweet little coffee shop, and it was the owner, Laura, who was in there. And I was like, oh my God, another human. And I don't know what happened to me, but I just was blabbing on about I don't even know what. And then all of a sudden I had to say, I'm so sorry, I haven't seen another person in 5 days.
I mean, she's probably used to it.
Yeah, probably. But she was chit-chatting too. And then I bought all the local products I could afford because I liked her. I wanted to support her little store.
Wanted to spend as much time inside of the store.
Basically, I was like, oh, is this for sale? She's like, no, that's the bookshelf. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
It's fine. Everything's great. Maybe that's where I got my itchy.
Yeah, you spend too much time. It's hives from seeing other people. You're not supposed to.
Oh God, what if that's it?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be all sorts of weird things that people start doing and saying and having. Weird stuff's going to happen when we start getting back together.
I do fear that if I'm out at a bar and somebody starts talking and I don't want to be part of the conversation, whereas before I'd be very kind and somehow get out of it. But now because my social interactions have been so sparse and I don't know how to communicate really, it'll just be shutting down. I just literally say, no more.
I'm mostly worried that because again, I'm an introvert. I'm pretty good at being alone, and the longer I'm alone, the less likely I will ever leave my house again. So it's like kind of dangerous for me to. I like this a little too much sometimes, but I would not mind seeing a human. But I'm afraid, like you're saying, that I'll like see them, and then I'll be like, I want you to leave now. Like I don't want to be around you anymore. We'll see how this unfolds, I suppose. But.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. It's going to get weird. It's already weird.
It's already weird.
It's going to get weirder.
It's going to get weirder. Yep, I'm sure. As long as we all can just embrace it, it's fine.
All I got to say is my parents are getting their second vaccine on Wednesday. And I feel
great.
as though that will open up my world a little bit more because, this whole time I've been very careful because I don't want to kill my parents. But now I'll maybe go get a haircut. Whoa.
Sure.
Or have them
hear you.
do a pedicure. I don't know what's going on down there, so get in there,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gross.
Just riffing.
Just a
riffing
troll.
on body issues. Cool. I got a rash. My toenails are grown out. I don't know. It's like, cool. Sounds good.
Oh, no. I'm just not well. Anyway.
No one is. Everything is terrible. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine.
Is it?
No, but it's fine.
You know what will help make everything be better, though?
I think I do. Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff to spice up your bedroom is even better.
Select almost any one item for 50% off, and then Adam and Eve loads on the free stuff.
Enter offer code HORIO at checkout and get 10 tantalizing free gifts.
A sexy item for him, a special gift for her, and a third item you'll both enjoy.
And 6 free spicy movies.
Ooh. Plus, free shipping.
That's HORIO, WHOREO, HORIO at adamandeve.com. So let's get down to it, huh?
Let's get down to business. This will give everybody a rash.
Yeah. Or you're going to not want a rash after this because then you'll have to buy something to get rid of it.
That's true. But the rage inside that boils up will maybe cause a little.
Perhaps. Today, without further ado, we are talking about the pink tax.
The pink tax. I love pink.
What, pray tell,
I love
is
pink.
the pink tax?
Well,
I don't even like pink that much, to be honest.
Really? You own so much pink?
I know, I weirdly do. It's because there's just so much of it.
That's
when
true.
They're like, oh, you're a girl, you have to wear pink. You're like, oh, okay.
They do just shove it down your throat. But yes, the pink tax. Why is it so damn expensive to be a woman?
Well, because they charge us more for the same things that men buy also.
What?
As it turns out.
What?
It's kind of crazy. The famous example is razors. I think that's one of the clearest examples. Where men's razors, they actually, I think I have some numbers here. So, for example, with men's razors, an average price for 20 razors for women is $8.90. This is just sort of average prices. The men's average prices for razors is $7.99. That's almost $1 price difference. It's 11%. That's just one example, right? But the thing about razors that I think is a good example is that, like, how different are women's razors than men's razors? Like, even if you're shaving your groin area, how different is it really going to be? I mean, a face is also very sensitive. So why wouldn't a man's razor, be the same deal as a women's?
I would even go as far as to say that men's razors are better.
Yeah.
Because there for a while I was buying, I don't know which one it was, but they were cheaper. So I started buying men's razors and I was like, holy shit, this is actually getting in there even better than my,
Sure.
my Venus one that is like, a Venus razor is like $20. Also, don't even get me started on the marketing of a Venus razor. You know? Come on, get out of here.
Right. Well, and that's just one example. I mean, there's other examples like shampoos. An average cost of a shampoo for a woman is $8.39. Average cost for a shampoo for a man is $5.68, which is a 48% difference in price. And the list goes on and on. In addition to that, it extends to your children.
Babies? My babies?
Little babies.
My
your little
unborn
babies.
child?
Your unborn daughter is getting charged more than your unborn son.
Shut up.
For her
Really?
helmet. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what? I did actually see this thing. They had a red scooter and a pink scooter. The same product at Target. The red scooter was $24.99. The pink scooter was $49.99. Twice as much for a child's scooter.
Yeah.
So if you can, try to have a boy because you'll be saving probably half.
Or just get your girls to dislike pink because,
or just get gender neutral. I mean, that's a big thing. Is that I
Right.
really, I've been trying to research more of these gender neutral companies that across the board, it's just the same price for both men and women because the product is for both. So that's great. Another number. So generally, to generalize everything, women pay 42% more compared to men on products.
Yeah.
42.
And
percent.
They make less. Women make less
81
money.
cents to the dollar compared to a man.
And we also know that that's different from
women of color.
between races too.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, like, this is very frustrating.
And the fact that we're not raising real hell for it. Really. I mean, I've been hearing about the pink tax. I've been hearing about the tampon tax. And I know some legislators are trying to really put stuff forward, like Jamie Spear, this woman, she's a Democrat from California. And she's been really trying to talk about this in Congress, but getting so much pushback for it. Because okay, let's just face it. It's like all run by cisgendered white men.
Totally. No, totally.
And they don't want to talk about tampon tax on the Senate floor.
Or they don't care. They don't give a fuck. That's that was one thing. So as I was reading more and more about this, again, my question that always comes to me on these things is why? Why is this happening? Why is there such a stark difference in the pricing of these items? And I found a couple articles and things. There was one guy that's an economist who, take it with a grain of salt because he was a white dude who just clearly was already biased against this idea that he didn't even believe there was a pink tax particularly. But he made some interesting points in that. And I will say you cannot deny that the prices are different. That is just a fact.
You can go to Walgreens today and just peruse the aisles and you can just see it very clearly. I mean, I've seen on Instagram more people calling out the companies, holding up the blue, holding up the pink, and just saying clearly. I'm going to start doing that. I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean,
Hashtag pink tax.
Sure. And also, but I thought this was an interesting issue because this is like where we get caught in like a catch-22 here as women. Sorry.
Oh, Jesus, Katy.
Just like the demon finally comes out. Sorry.
I'm not going to edit that out. Sorry.
As I was saying, no, it's fine. Whatever. It's just who I am. As I was
the amount of burps I have to edit out of this podcast. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, continue, madam.
No, I was just going to say, oh yes, the catch-22. So he made an interesting point because I was like, well, why is this happening? How can this even be? Is it just that companies are like, fuck women, let's just charge them more? I was like, that seems like insane, right? And as it turns out, there is sort of an economic reason why it's happening. So, and he tried to make this argument, and he did. He made this argument well. And the argument is, there are certain items like shampoo, for example, right? Men generally don't give a fuck what shampoo they use. Women do. So, for example, let's say as a woman you have curly hair. You're not going to just necessarily, and you don't want your hair to be like a frizzy mess all the time. So you go and you buy an item, a specific kind of shampoo that really makes your hair better, right? It really makes your hair work, with the curliness or whatever. That a guy with the same hair texture may not care if his hair is frizzy or not, right? So he'll go and buy the like Pantene Pro V and just not for like $1.99 and just not care about it. Whereas a woman, so his argument was like, if women are putting those, if it matters to them what products they use, the market is going to charge more for them because all of a sudden you're having to like debate whatever. That makes sense to me. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But it's right that like if we're putting a value on a particular hair care product,
Mm-hmm.
we're not just going to like, the competition is less for that product then, because we're not going to go and just buy Pantene Pro V. We're willing to pay extra money to get a better, what we consider a better product, right?
Yes.
So here's where the catch-22 comes in. So that's fine. Like, okay, so I was like, okay, so it really is up to the consumer. And his argument would be, it's up to the consumer then to buy the cheaper product. So it's like, just don't care about your hair, ladies. Also scents, right? Like deodorants. He's saying, well, a woman cares more about how she smells. So she could buy a men's deodorant, but if she doesn't want to smell like a man, she'll buy the more expensive women's deodorant because women care more about that stuff. That was his argument. Here's the kicker though, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Women are put in a position in which we have to care more. We are marketed from day one that you have to look a certain way, you have to smell a certain way, you have to have your hair, God forbid a woman walks around with frizzy hair, whereas if a guy does, he doesn't lose the job, you know what I mean, over her. So it's just extremely frustrating that you can make economic arguments as to why we've fallen into this situation quite how, as we have. But to blame the consumer in the sense, like, sure, something like razors. I actually buy men's razors. I have a subscription to Harry's, which is like a mailing service, and they're men's razors. But I guess now they're sort of pivoting and saying like we're for everybody, like you were saying with the
Gender neutral.
Yeah. But something like shampoo, if you have a certain hair texture. Mm-hmm. And you don't want your hair to look insane, you can't just go and choose the cheapest shampoo at the store.
Well, it goes back to our episode that we did about hair. It's like we are programmed as women to be shamed by marketing, society, other men, other women. I mean, we cannot have hair on our bodies because it's disgusting, but it's natural. But we have to then buy all the products, do all the services, the waxings, all that stuff to get rid of our natural body hair. And that costs way more money.
And it brings up a good point, too, because there's like a twofold extra cost on women, because number one is the razor. Right. Mm-hmm. But then what it doesn't talk about then is also like the perfume and the moisturizer and all the accoutrement, the like pads that you put on so you don't get ingrown hairs, all these other accoutrement that like women feel pressure to buy so that they can look a certain way, which is of the standard of men, not necessarily women. I mean, it is become the standard of women, but it's that patriarchal standard.
Wait, hold on. I think I know what caused my rash. Because I just bought all this fancy product because I was marketed.
Oh we did not plan this.
No, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. You know me, because I'm like allergic to everything, especially fragrance, fancy stuff. Fancy things, this girl is not. So full disclosure, I use Lever 2000 soap.
Yeah.
And I never break out because of it. I never get any rashes. It's a solid product, and I get made fun of by boys because they're like, oh well, my dad uses that, and I'm like, well, you know what, me too, because if I use anything fancy I break out. So I just bought all this fancy stuff when I moved in here, and I bet you that's it. And I paid a fortune for this stuff, and I smell like a princess. But now I'm thinking that maybe
look
that's
like a fraud.
But fuck that.
Well,
Katy, that's what it is.
No, this is again, we did not plan this, but that's crazy. That but this is a perfect.
If you write into Difficult Women podcast, I'll give you all this fancy stuff because I can't use it anymore. I don't think. Oh man. Anyway, I'm very upset and itchy.
Yeah,
this hurts.
That's very upset. Oh.
Okay. I'm sorry. Anyway, this is not sponsored by Lever 2000, but it's a solid product. I highly recommend.
Yeah. Well, and so that was, you bring us to a perfect point, which is what do we do about this? So aside from government, government intervention,
like a federal law of some sort,
right? It really does come down to the consumer buying the cheaper options. And I know that's not always like I said, with the hair texture things, or just as an example, like that's not always really that viable for people.
Mm-hmm.
But some economists want to say that no, this is good for it's good for the economy to like have the market like divide men and women and then charge more for women than men, because men's prices go down. There's this whole economic theory as to why it's good. But if you talk to, that's one type of economist that says that. But there was another economist, a woman, that was talking about how actually that's not true at all. And any market that's just let loose fully, and I know a lot of these money people want the market to just be fully free. She's like, at the end of the day, the market never cares about the individual. They just don't. So you have to regulate some of this stuff. So some people will say, oh, no, we don't want to regulate it because free market, blah. But it's like, if you don't, then we end up further and further and further into this pit where women are just paying more and more and more for products.
Well, I was reading that tariffs, like it even starts from when products are coming into our country, the tariffs are higher for female products. But then some products also are created equally, but then it's the retailer that's marking it up for the women and keeping it low for the men. Well, I did read that there's 4 things that we can do as what we can do as citizens in America. Because this also does happen, especially the tampon tax. I did learn that it does happen in lots of other countries. So it's not just exclusive to America. But what we can do today, starting today, is Lever 2000. That's the first. No, just kidding. Refrain. Not sponsor of the show, but I would love them to. Number 1, refrain from supporting retailers who levy pink tax. So choose not to buy their products. 2, go for a generic version of a product whenever possible. 3, showcase your full-blown support for companies who have shifted to gender-neutral pricing. And number 4, create awareness and sensitize people around it. If need be, voice your opinion about it. I mean, we're talking about it, so we're doing great. And then, I mean, there's a whole thing for also who are marketers and organizations. Number 1, they can adjust their prices. That sounds good. Number 2, they can work with legislators. Number 3, they can educate consumers, build awareness, which I think is very important. And then again, like it goes back to number 4, embrace gender neutrality.
So that's actually interesting too, because that was another thing that this economist, of course, I don't cite my sources, that I don't play like that. You'll never know who I'm talking about. But anyway, this particular economist was saying that
Katy don't play that.
I don't play that. Don't. I'm not going to back anything that I say up. Crazy. Anyway, but this woman, she was saying that that's another issue, right? So sometimes there's products that she's like, in a good economy, in a healthy economy, if you have an item that costs more than a similar item, there needs to be added value to that item. So again, in the example of razors, if you're going to have a men's razor that's $5 and a woman's razor that's $7, that woman's razor better also, be a vibrator or something. Like it's got to do something extra. That sounds so dangerous, by the way. I don't recommend anybody inventing that. Don't do it. But like, and the bottom line is that with the razors, it again is a great example. There's no real difference between those 2 items. So what that comes down to is marketing, and this marketing machine that we have all been subjected to since the day we were born. About, women are this and men are this, and women like pink and men like blue, and all of these things. And like what you were saying about the scooter, it's like, it's hard with kids, because if kids really want like the pink one, as a parent, it can be hard to be like, no, you're getting the red one. And then the girl's crying or whatever, or the boy, whoever wants the pink one. But we just to kind of like, I don't get a spray paint bottle and spray paint it pink when you get home or something.
Especially with lead paint.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
paint it
totally.
with lead.
Especially if you got kids, then you can get rid of them real quick. We'll take care of that problem. Just kidding.
Not going to be buying anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to be great parents.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Well, also I learned, so here we are talking about products, like shampoo and conditioner, razors, all that sort of stuff. But also mortgages, when a woman applies for a mortgage.
And things like if your car is broken.
Yeah.
And they're quoting you like a price for your car. Yes. What did you hear about mortgages specifically?
Well, just that women.
Just
because you're going through, I mean, I don't know really, but you're going through the banks and all that sort of stuff. And then I don't know, why would we
There's
get a
a
higher?
bias.
Yeah, there's a
Right.
bias. And then a higher interest rate, especially, and I have to say, especially single women buying their own homes.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me very, very angry as a person who would like to buy a house as an independent woman.
Yeah.
Who is not.
No,
was not, but
Yeah, no. I mean, and I don't really know. It's hard with that. With the mechanic stuff, one of the pieces of advice they were giving specifically is that do your due diligence before you go to the mechanic if you can help it, to try to find out, well, what are the regular prices for this kind of a broken thing, and try to educate yourself a little bit more so that you can protect yourself when you go to like a mechanic to say, look, my brakes aren't working. I don't have a car. I don't know how this is, but my brakes don't work or whatever. You know, try to have somebody tell you what they think that the price is going to be. Or, I mean, this is something people do all the time, which is fucked up, but you just have like your guy friend call and be like, hey, I need to fix my car. That's fucked up, though. That's not a solution.
I know. But I initially, when I read that, I was like, oh, well, that's why I always have like my dad. I would get my dad to come with me, or like get another man to come with me. But that's so fucked up. I also know nothing about cars, nor do I care. I should probably put oil in mine. I don't know how that works.
I've never had a car. I don't know. I don't know. I barely know how to drive. I mean, but it's the same with like bikes and stuff. I mean, there's a bike culture that's like very bro-y in New York City, and like it can be really uncomfortable to go to like a bike place, and you know, if you don't know your shit, it just feels like they can take advantage of you, which is one of the reasons why I like roller skating, is because there are so many girls in roller skating that you don't, when I go to the roller skate shop to get my skates tuned up or whatever, I don't ever do that, but you could, I trust those women that they're not going to like gouge me because I'm a girl.
But I'd be so curious to see how much boy skates are versus girl skates.
They're the same. They're mostly the same, I think, because, it depends, I guess. I don't know. It depends. Because there's a lot of like gender neutrality in roller skating.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's like the only thing that I've seen, it depends on what kind of roller skating. That's a whole other conversation. But I have seen that, like, for example, I tried to buy some black skates and they were like, these are boy skates. I was like, but I want the black ones. And they were like, these are boy ones. So I had to like figure out the size. It doesn't mean I couldn't buy them, but it was just like the sizing became a whole thing. That's a boring story. Anyway. This is what I do with my time, is I like look up. I'm at the point in quarantine where I put things in my shopping cart and I never buy them, or I buy them and then promptly return them. that's just to keep myself busy. I don't know. Speaking of shopping, but I mean, maybe I should do like a razor. I hate shaving though. I don't want to do razor tests.
I mean, why shave during this pandemic either? I mean,
sometimes I do it just to remind myself that I'm a person. But
yeah, no, I've been shaving.
No, but also why? We, like I said, body hair. Who cares?
Yeah,
you don't have to shave.
Yeah,
it doesn't even matter. No one's even seeing me. Yeah. So yeah, that's true. That this sort of quote unquote pink tax. It's not always a tax per se. When it's related to things like, fixing your cars or mortgages and things. There's just this inherent bias, which leads us to the tampon tax, which is that this was something that I didn't understand for a long time, because I was just sort of like, well, it's an item, like, aren't items taxed? Well, and the way this actually works is that non-luxury items are not taxed. Mm-hmm. So groceries and things like that in the United States are not supposed to be taxed.
Fruit roll-ups are not taxed.
Things that people feel are necessities, like fruit roll-ups,
Viagra
are not.
Penile.
Viagra's not taxed.
Well, let me double check my sources on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but certainly, the idea is if it's a necessity.
Let me read this.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, tax-free necessity. Rolled up fruit candy.
Good.
Not taxed. Mardi Gras beads. Huh. Who knew? Rogaine. Viagra.
Oh, so Viagra is
not
so
a necessity. Pads, menstrual cup, tampons.
Yeah, those are considered. Those are taxed with a luxury tax because they are considered non-necessities.
These are tax-free versus taxed products,
items,
and only in 33 states. So not all the states.
Right. And that is one thing that I did see, that there's been some states that have been taking measures to remove that tax because they're starting to understand. But I think that I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they had all had a tax on that.
Well,
stuff.
if there was a federal law.
Right. And I think that that's just like such a mind-boggling thing to me and it's just such, it can only be through a man's lens that they would see a tampon as a luxury item. Any woman that has ever had a period, and I'm sure women that have not had periods can also attest to this being a non-luxury
It's
item.
a medical necessity.
Also, by the way, if you don't wear anything and free bleed, we're not allowed to do that either. So it's like, so it's not like we have a big choice as to like, oh, okay, I'm not going to buy a tampon because it's a luxury, and instead I'm just going to have my period everywhere. People will love that.
Right.
Like that sort of thing is just infuriating to me. And also just that like, that they're not more, this is a thing that, this is a different conversation, but like with the women, the homeless population, the female homeless population, it's a really big issue that they can't always get their hands on pads or tampons or whatever, any kind of menstrual item.
Yeah.
For a minute, did I say that right? I was like, menstrual? No, menstrual, right, menstrual item.
I know.
Because... Yeah, I just don't know if I said that right, but I did. Because like they're first of all, they're expensive, and the tax certainly doesn't help, and they're necessities. What do you expect people to do if they, and especially if you're homeless and you don't have access to like a lot of showers and things like that, it becomes a health issue. Like if you have, sorry, not sorry, I'm just going to say the truth. If you're bleeding out of your vagina and it's sitting in your panties and you don't have another pair of panties, you don't have access to a shower, that will lead to infection and bad things and bacteria growth, and that will make someone really, really sick. So don't tell me that this isn't a medical necessity.
Right. I was listening to this one podcast of a woman talking about what it is period poverty. And homeless women out there use trash. They rummage through the garbage to find napkins to use as pads.
Which is also not
That is not sanitary. Right. So there are, thankfully, thank God, there are so many organizations out there fighting for period poverty, really, really fighting for that these products be free in schools, free in prisons, and free in women's shelters. And a lot of not a lot, but, I would say 10 states in our great country do have that that state's law. But they're leaving it up to the states to decide. And guess what? Tennessee, they don't give a fuck about women here.
Right.
Especially abortions. But they would never, these white men would never pass that sort of thing.
They just don't think it's important. They don't, it's just such a, and it's not, again, it's not every man that doesn't get it or that doesn't, but there's just it's like, even at its best, even if it's like least, malintentioned, it's like these men that pass these laws, they don't think about it. So they don't care. It's not even like, oh, we want to punish women. It's just that we just don't think it's that important of an issue because it doesn't affect them. So to them, it's like, why are we even wasting time having this conversation? So like that, you were saying that there was some government person, I don't remember who you said it was, but she was been really trying to push things through for federal.
Yes.
I don't know if she's a governor or whatever.
Jackie Spear. Sorry. I think I might have said Jamie Spear. Yeah.
Jamie Lynn Spears.
Jamie Lynn Spears is on the Congress floor. She's just
Brittany's sister. Yeah,
Brittany's sister.
Amazing.
No, Jackie Spear. But she's been actually, the only, when you look up, the period movement and like the pink tax, she's the only that I can find Congresswoman that is fighting for this. And she goes on the Senate floor and talks about this sort of thing. And she's been fighting for this, I think I read, since like 2008 or so.
And like you said, that she gets pushback and then people think it's just not a big deal and that she's making a lot of noise about nothing. But it's like, it doesn't affect you. That's why you think that.
Women pay $1,300
Yeah,
$1,400 a year more than men on these products. $1,400 a year. and we make less money. So like, we have to wake up earlier to get ready.
I was like, why do we have to wake up earlier? I was like, no, right. Yeah, we got to try hard, look cute, whatever, shave our legs. Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's interesting because like we got to.
I'm more mad about waking up earlier. Just kidding.
We got to wake up earlier. Well, this is going to be like a small side note, but it all comes back around. Our dear friend Rush Limbaugh passed away.
Oh.
Too bad. But we had done a song early in our Reformed Horse career, addressing something that he had called a woman, Sandra Fluke, a slut because she was arguing that birth control should be covered under your insurance because it's a medical necessity, and it doesn't even always have to do with birth. It has to do, sometimes just people use birth control for medical reasons. And if it's not covered, sometimes it's so cost prohibitive. She had a friend in particular who was having medical issues. The friend was a lesbian. She was not going to get pregnant, but she needed the birth control or else she could potentially die, and she couldn't afford the birth control. So she stopped buying it, and then she was, putting her life at risk. Because her insurance through, it was like Georgetown University, which is a Jesuit school, didn't want to cover it because they said, well, we don't believe in birth control. So that was, and then Rush Limbaugh goes, she's a slut. She's just trying to fight for birth control so she can fuck everybody, whatever. So we wrote a song about it, and it's just like, it's just insane. Just insane. That's insane enough. This week, we got a lovely comment because now that, he died, so it's sort of come back around. And this gentleman, Timothy Schweitzer, I looked him up. He's an actor. I hope he never works again. Or I don't think he ever worked to begin with, so it's fine. But he said, if you want to look him up, don't even give him the views. It's fine. He said, if you were responsible, you would pay for your own birth control and not want taxpayers to foot the bill. Song makes no sense. I went into a rage, like a blind rage.
Wow, I missed that. I missed that comment, Katie.
I didn't because I saw it and I was furious. I was like, I need to respond to this because I can't handle this today. So under my own personal, because I didn't want to get the band into too much trouble, I just responded. This has nothing to do with taxpayer dollars. And I just explained what happened there. It was about the insurance that you pay into not covering a medical cost. So your tax dollars have nothing to do with it. So as a result, your comment doesn't make sense. The song makes sense.
Did he?
And then I didn't hear back from him. No.
Oh.
And he is a real person because I did click on his thing and then I watched part of his reel and I was like, get the fuck out of here. And he had like 20 views. I was like, I hate you.
You should have commented. This is garbage.
This is
garbage.
Reel makes no sense.
This burns my eyes.
This reel makes no sense.
Yeah, that debate makes me insane.
But it comes down to this, and the reason I bring it up is because it's the same feeling that I have with this comment, and then anything with this like pink tax with the, people trying to push through the getting rid of the tampon tax. This guy is seeing things so through his own microscope, his own like vision, that he's totally incapable and or just unwilling, not incapable, unwilling to see the world through somebody else's eyes. If you were responsible, you would pay for your own birth control. Timothy, why don't you pay for your own birth control? Why don't you make it, what are you talking about?
Right.
Also, your birth control, like a condom, isn't going to save your life. I mean, it will if you use it, but you know what I mean? Like it's not. A condom is really for sex. Birth control pills are for many, many things that are beyond just babies. But it's like if you don't, and then again to like lean this is another thing I just want to like really, really quickly rant about, because I think this applies to all of us. This applies to liberal people. It applies to conservative people. It applies to everybody. We are living in this time more than ever where people grasp on to these buzzwords like taxpayers, taxpayer dollars. You want the taxpayers to foot your bill? We're not talking about taxes.
Right.
But you're so confident in like these like these sort of buzzwordy phrases that are flying around, you know, and I know that the liberal people have them too. So that's just like another thing I just kind of want to like continue to like press upon people, which is that do your due diligence before you make a comment, some asinine comment on someone's thing. Google it to see, is this even about taxes? He would have found out it's not about taxes. He could have still made a comment if he wanted, but at least he would be, then we can have a conversation. Then we can have an argument. But if you're just making shit up, you know, it's like, and then just shutting, I mean, that's gaslighting, right? Just shutting a woman down, being like, yeah. And without making, and then to say this song makes no sense when he's clearly missed the entire point of he missed the whole thing. So I really am at a point more and more.
My rash
I just
is
am so
burning
tired.
right now.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
Jesus.
I think I'm getting a rash
I'm so
just
sorry.
thinking about it.
I mean, I'm sure our listeners are getting hives right now with this. I mean, it's infuriating. It is so. Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's with anything, and this goes with gender stuff, it goes for race stuff, it goes for, you know, if you're a straight person trying to understand a gay person's perspective or a trans person's perspective, we only see the world through our lens. So you have to be able to listen to other people's stories. You have to be able to listen to other people's perspectives on these things, and you know, have a real, like, look it up. Read about it. Really find out what the deal is before you start just saying like, no.
Right.
No.
Right. No, I mean, I'm doing more research on like what makes a good relationship, just because, hopefully to find.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah. What the fuck am I have a rash? I'm alone. Like whatever.
It sounds
but this
good.
idea of like
Ready.
what fair fighting means in a relationship, but then I'm actually like broadening it even more to like, just because there's so much, divide still, you know, and that is, you know, fair fighting means that there's two people on opposite sides of the street, and rather than trying to convince another person to come to your side of the street and you win the argument, that's not fair fighting. What I'm more interested in, more than ever, is the fucking bridge. Like, I want to be able to hear the other person's argument. So say like a Trump supporter or like whatever, but just hear them before I shut down, because I've been shutting down. I cannot hear when somebody says that they were a supporter of him. I can't hear what they're saying, but I'm trying to do better at like, okay, let me just hear. And if I can at least like hear what they're saying and try not to compromise or like bring them to my side, but at least if I can meet them in the middle and we can like find something to agree on, I think that's way better than trying to like say, no, you're wrong, and shut them down.
Absolutely.
If somebody's racist or whatever, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know how to be a proper fair fighter there.
Well, and I think that like that's part of the issue with like fair fighting, right? Like, let's say, even if we take it back to a relationship, if one person in the relationship is trying to fair fight and the other one is unwilling to do that, it's a lost cause.
Right.
And this is where like I really struggle, because I'm constantly trying to understand, like, well, let me hear your side.
Yes, you're very good
But
at
if
that.
you're not willing to hear my side, then this is a totally wasted time. You're not going to convince me for sure. So it's not that. And I'm not even trying to convince you per se, but I'm trying to understand like what is going on. But if you're not, and I learn a lot when I listen, you know, and I hear things that I'm like, oh, I see what's kind of going on here. But if they're not willing, if the other person's not willing to meet you halfway also, I don't really know, you know, this has to be something that like a lot of us start doing. Right. You know what I mean?
But
and
both sides have to educate themselves on it.
Yeah.
But it is like what Dr. Fletcher, in our episode a couple weeks ago, is that like we have to have these difficult conversations. So like I wish we could bring this dumb actor boy on and be like, okay, all right, let's hear what you have to say. Or maybe not, but you know what I mean? It's just like we have to have these difficult conversations in order to move forward.
But also, like in his case, this dumb guy that I hate now, my arch nemesis. The thing about that is that like we can have him, and this is the problem with things like Fox News and stuff, is that you get these like quote unquote experts that don't know anything about what they're talking about. Right. And if you give them all this airtime,
you give them
but
a
if
platform.
they're not willing to give, but if they're not willing to give you one back, then it's like dangerous. Like then it's like this guy is like just spreading misinformation. Like even the taxpayer thing, that's misinformation.
Well, that is a whole other thing too. I do think that there's Sam Harris, like his podcast, he's been having some controversial people on to hear their side of the story, but then again, he's giving them a platform to spread lies. So I have a problem with that. Joe Rogan does the same
I mean,
thing,
it's a mix.
so.
It's a very, but this is the exact thing. Is it like, it's not that I even blame Sam Harris for doing that, or Joe Rogan is another person people love to like shit on. I like appreciate what he's trying to do.
Right.
But if the other side isn't willing to do the same in a real way, where it's not just, oh, we're going to embarrass you and take you down on TV, and be like, okay, we really want to hear your side of it, then it's just really, I don't know where that leaves us.
Right.
You know?
But we should all be trying to get to that bridge.
Totally. And I think that just as an individual, even if it's not having a conversation with someone, you know, who's not listening, if it is just internally being like, oh, I need to see that my experience is not the only experience, especially if you're a cis white man or a cis white woman, you know, but especially with this particular topic, like tampons and stuff, if you're a man, period, this is a place where you can open your eyes a little bit and be like, wow, this is a thing that I don't experience. Right. So I don't really have a say. And, you know, it's hard for me to have an opinion on whether we should tax this or not. Let's listen to what the women have to say. And if they say no tax, then let's take it off. Right. If they say we have to make these things available more freely, then let's do it, because I don't know what it's like to have a vagina. Right. I mean, I do, but I was just speaking as a man.
Well, I'm hopeful. I don't know. With more women in Congress, the more maybe, I mean. Yeah, for sure. You know? And that's why diversity matters on all sorts of levels, you know. And that goes for economic diversity, too, having people from all sorts of different economic backgrounds and people from different, you know, geographic diversity. So if you're from a, you know, lower middle class family in Louisiana, that experience is going to be a lot different than an upper class lifestyle in Connecticut, you know? Right. And that's good. We need all of that information, because it's not like the Connecticut person's automatically right because they went to Princeton. So, and don't even get me started about how toxic some of those tampons are. Like, just,
I mean, that's a whole,
that could be a whole other episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you need a tampon because you have nothing, of course, please, like, you have to have it. But yeah,
but they bleach that shit, and then it really, they don't know.
They do not care.
And there's no studies because they don't really care. And they're like, women are too complicated.
They don't care.
Anyway, that'll be another episode.
That's it. Yeah.
So anyway. Yep. I got to go tend to my rash. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you better go do that. And yeah, if you guys have any notes you want to send us, I don't know.
If you want to take a walk to a gazebo and have a convo, email us at...
Oh my God, please. I'd love to take a walk to a gazebo.
I know.
Does anyone know where a gazebo?
Oh God. Remember when we did our vows together at Sturgis at that gazebo? We did best friend vows. And we had rings too. Anyway, it's great. I miss you a lot.
I miss you too.
Email us at difficultwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We love you guys. Take care of your pussies.
Yep. Bye.
There was a word when we were kids that wasn't very nice. It was reserved for certain girls who'd been round the block once or twice. But listen, y'all, we got news that will blow your mind. Thanks to Mr. Limbaugh, that word's been redefined.
So apparently now,
I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut, slut, slut. I'm an S-L-U-T, S-L-U-T slut. I went to school, I speak my mind, I'm responsible for my behind. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut.
I've only slept with one man my entire life. We got married last June, now I'm proud to be his wife. I'm on the pill so we won't have kids, so we can be financially responsible for them. Then they can be a joy in our lives instead of a burden.
You slut.
Thank you.
I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut, slut, slut. I'm an S-L-U-T, S-L-U-T slut. I went to school, I speak my mind, I'm responsible for my behind. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut. When I was young, I got bad cramps that made me grumpy as my grams. Once a month it took its toll, so I was put on birth control. At At 16 it was a relief to be freed from PMS grief. It had nothing to do with sex, but to be perfectly honest with you, if I'd wanted to have had sex at that time, that would have been my own personal decision that has nothing to do with you or anyone else except for me and the one I choose to be with.
You slut.
Thank you. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut, slut, slut. I'm an S-L-U-T, S-L-U-T slut.
I went to school last week. Wait.
Did you go to college?
Why, yes.
I went to college. Do you know what that makes us? Snobs!
Yay!
I'm a snob, I'm a snob, I'm a snob, snob, snob. I'm an S-N-O-B, S-N-O-B snob. I'm making $20K a year, just starting my career.
Lucky to have my degree, so I have potential for upward mobility.
I'm an S-N-O-B.
Wait, you can spell?
Yeah.
Well, you know what that makes us?
What?
Elitists!
Yay! I'm an elitist, I'm an elitist, I'm an elitist. I can read, I can do math, I've taken the right path. I'm an average American with the right to education.
Everybody!
I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut, slut, slut. I'm an S-L-U-T, S-L-U-T slut. I went to school, I speak my mind, I'm responsible for my behind. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut.
One more time!
I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut, slut, slut. I'm an S-L-U-T, S-L-U-T slut. I went to school, I speak my mind, I'm responsible for my behind. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut. I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut, I'm a slut.
I have a hankering to get a PhD in aerodynamics.
You slut.